a different perspective of how is handled a brand in the indie way, you know. So I want to talk today with my guests about the challenges and the learnings of having an independent brand. And I have a special guest today that, in my opinion, they have been doing really amazing things. And I choose them because they are in different stages of their brands. We have like David, that he has been in the business for a long time. We have different stages of different brands. And I want them to introduce themselves. So I want to start with Wade. So you can introduce yourself.
My name is Wade Merrick from Unparalleled Universe. I'm the creator of Odious.
Woo! Woo! Yeah! Woo! His logo, and in the QR you can follow him on Instagram too. And the next is Patrick.
I'm Pat Wang, president of Icon Drills, and our line is called Jiu-Jitsu Fighters, basically about a zoo where animals are competing in mixed martial arts tournaments.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jason.
My name is Jason Bienvenu.
Oh my God!
Sorry about that. My name is Jason Bienvenu, managing partner at Spiro, and we are known for the animal wars of the kingdom.
Yeah. We have Adam.
Yeah, I'm Adam Van Wither. I'm 1/3 of PVC Entertainment, and we're working on The Cursed Day. So it's reimagining classic horror characters, monsters, and demons.
My name is David Varner, and I have been in the action figure community for a while. Back with Toy Biz, working on Spider-Man Classic and Marvel Legends, back at Hasbro with Marvel Universe, and a bunch of other different places, Mattel, working on WWE, and now I'm working with different independent creators. A few of them is Wade with his Unparalleled Universe, and also Brutal Realm, and a few others, the Bandito, and we got a couple, maybe some announcements coming.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing some more stuff, but yeah, using my knowledge and experience in the independent toy space to help creators bring their ideas to fruition.
Well, I'm Esteban Cifuentes. I came from Colombia, and I create this, the first action figure line made completely in Colombia. So I organized this panel to show the difficult to make this kind of brands, and to show you guys in some way you can learn about our mistakes and our challenges to make these kind of things. So I want to start asking you guys, what was the biggest challenge releasing your first figure, and how did you solve it? Yeah, you can start.
So, for me, the biggest challenge was honestly because it was my first time, like being just so unaware of everything, and trusting that everybody involved was going to do the thing that they were supposed to do. Because, like I said, it was so foreign to me. Like I jumped in, like not knowing anything, and like you could ask Dave over there. I was bothering him constantly because I was like, I'd be so nervous about like what was going on, and Dave is very like laid back and comfortable and doing his thing, and to me it would drive me crazy. That was the hardest part for me, just the production process. I was stressed out the whole time, and it was a mess. But yeah, that was the most difficult part. Every other part was pretty fun, actually.
It was fun watching him sweat a little bit.
Yeah, every conversation I'd be like, what's going on? He's like, just relax. It's getting there. Just
I think every creator has to go through that a little bit, but it's a different process making a toy. It's a different process when you buy a toy as opposed to making a toy. And when you're making a toy, you gotta be patient about a lot of things, and have things buttoned up and tightened up, and do a lot of communication. And sometimes you gotta change with whatever issue is going on. So you really have to be nimble, particularly when you're an independent artist. Be nimble with your time, with your scope, with your vision, and where you want to go.
What about you, Patrick? What was your biggest challenge releasing your first figure?
Yeah, so my biggest challenge was for my company, we were always known for doing statues and environments. One of our first, we used to do a lot of license collectibles. So our first one was Thundercats. We did like a huge Cats lair. Then we did Masters of the Universe. We did like the first 3D version of the Castle Grayskull. Some of you guys may have seen it. It's like, it's got like all the details in it. But we didn't really know anything about action figures because we were always doing non-articulated figures. Fortunately for me, I'm very good friends with the Four Horsemen. Some of you guys probably know who they are. They're like action figure rock stars. So I kind of had the fortune of being able to rely on them to kind of guide me through the whole process. They did a lot of our action figures. We used to do the Karate Kid action figures. So we did like Daniel Russo, John Orange. They really helped us with that. And so with our line here, they again stepped in and kind of helped us along the way. So I mean, it was stressful, but as far as actual sculpting and making it, I didn't know anything about it, so I kind of just handed the reins over to them and kind of let them take care of all that, because they know all about the articulation and the sculpting and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's hard work, like everybody said. Even though you have somebody very experienced in doing it, it's still stressful.
Yeah. Business.
Yeah, it's because you're dealing with so many different factors than just the like what you would say. You're hoping everybody who's supposed to be doing something is actually doing their part and doing it on time, and that's the hard part too. When there's delays, it causes a lot of headaches.
What about you, Jason? I know that you guys started with 4-inch figures. How was that the challenges about that?
So I think the biggest challenge for us was, we went with the factory and the project manager kind of just up and disappeared all of a sudden right around COVID. So we got left with missing tooling parts, and it was a giant nightmare, but we wound up finding a really great factory. We're friends with our project manager, and who you might know, Dave Proctor, is really well respected in the industry. So just kind of getting through that ordeal, it felt like, all of our resources were essentially being held hostage while we were trying to track them down. And Dave was really great about tracking what was still left down, and then, segueing us into our 6-inch scale line as well, which was an absolute pleasure to do. But, there's only so much that an indie creator can learn, and a lot of it was, on our end, it was, we know how to paint, we know how to sculpt and stuff, and our sculptors, work for Hasbro and do a ton of great work with that aspect, but, our knowledge of plastic recipes and stuff like that, we just had no idea. So I guess finding a really great production manager that we trust and a factory that's going to prioritize our project was our biggest challenge.
Okay, Adam, you're in the early stages of you, but still in the early stages you have a lot of challenges.
Yeah. So with the Cursed Dead, we just funded our Kickstarter earlier this year. So yeah, we just finalized the last 2 prototypes, which I do have here. But luckily, the team, PVC Entertainment, we're 3 guys that have been in the industry. My day job is working at General Giant Studios. Phil Ramirez is back there in the audience, the tall gentleman. You may know him if you collected the Toy Biz Marvel Legends line. He sculpted at least 60% of those and worked on Playmates Ninja Turtles. So he is old hat in the industry. So we're crossing bridges as they come. But yeah, we're at the earliest stages out of all you guys. Luckily, I have done this in the past. I was heavily involved in the Articulated Icons Kickstarter project back in 2015. So I am used to riding the roller coaster. And, yeah, we're just getting started.
David, you have been in the business for a long time. You have been seeing from big brands, small brands, IPs. What do you think is the biggest challenge in this to release a new IP or a new IP?
I think really the biggest challenge is staying with it and having the patience to stay with it. One of the things that I see how guys do is they kind of treat their IP as a one-trick pony. Like they just want to do that one thing and then that's it. But if the things that inspire us keeps on going. So to me, the challenge is figuring out how can your IP or your brand or whatever it is that you're making, how can they get to the next step and to the next level to, almost take a life of its own and continue on. One of the things I love about the odious figure is that everyone took that figure and they just ran with it, right? They did their own versions of like Kobe and different mystic types of Romans and ninjas and all that. And it was just so cool to actually see the community embrace it like they would customize a marble figure or a manga figure. So to me, is really stepping back and understanding your IP and making it different enough, but also infusing the life and the energy so it can keep on going to the next step. So it's not just a one-trick pony.
Okay. This question was something that I think that we are all passionate about comics, pop culture, action figures, and what role does the community play in your design decision or releases?
So for me, for the design, so the way Odious the way the design came about was I originally sold like heads that I painted myself, like custom heads that I painted myself. And a lot of people would take those heads and come up with their own versions of Odious just based on that. So, that kind of inspired the different designs and different concepts for Odious. Like the whole concept with Odious is that he's a spirit that's existed through different times. And that came from seeing so many people do different versions of it. And so that was how the community helped the design. And, it was a Kickstarter project that obviously couldn't happen with the community. I mean, without the community, obviously, because it's a Kickstarter. But on top of that, there was also a very, small group of people, the Tuesday Crew people, you already know. Tuesday Crew,
Tuesday Crew.
Tuesday Crew. Tuesday Crew was a group of people that are fans of my YouTube channel where I review action figures, and we all became very cool and close. And there's a solid group of, I would say, 20 people that felt really connected to Odious and its success. They felt connected to the success. Like I was successful, it was successful, and they were successful. So the community at large helped do the Kickstarter, but that smaller community of the Tuesday Crew, it couldn't have happened without them. Nico, T. Belay, all those kind of people that, Rick, obviously, Dom, shout out to everybody.
Overnight live stream.
Yeah, overnight. Yeah, we did a 24-hour live stream almost. And we had a bunch of the community come in there and just support it and push it over. Odious couldn't have happened without that. So that's how they played a big factor in its creation.
What about you, Patrick? You have been in a business for a long time. How is the community affect your decisions or?
It's I think for me, my inspiration really came from so I've been practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since 1997. I'm obsessed with the sport. I do it every day. So I've been doing licensed stuff all my life, and I finally I'm like, I want to do something that I'm passionate about, which is what I'm sure we're all doing right here. And so I want to do something with Jiu-Jitsu. I want to bring Jiu-Jitsu to the mainstream. Kind of like how Karate Kid kind of brought karate to the mainstream, and some of the Jackie Chan movies and Bruce Lee. So, like I said, I'm obsessed with Jiu-Jitsu. I want to bring it to the mainstream. So my inspiration was just trying to find a way of doing figures, but not just humans. Nobody wants to see boring humans. Like you see here, everyone wants to see animals. So my whole thing was crafting a story of anthropomorphic animals who have to do these mixed martial arts tournaments and these with authentic jiu-jitsu techniques.
Okay, what about you, Jason?
Oh man, you made me talk.
Yeah.
So the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is based on the comic book that I did in 2011, and whenever COVID happened, everything essentially shut down, and so Arlen Pelche and I, we were just kind of locked in our houses, and we decided to do the 6-inch scale, and Arlen's done, Marvel Legends, what else, Star Wars Black Series. You've got a ton of the figures that he's sculpted, so it was really a pleasure to work with a friend and kind of see exactly what we could take from the Hasbro buck and translate it into my IP. And we essentially put everything that a Marvel Legends figure has as far as articulation goes. And then we had to start doing stuff like problem solving where, we could have done calf cuts, but we've got removable greaves and stuff. So we decided to kind of pull back some stuff that we could have done that would have made it a little bit hard to play with and customize. So I think being a little bit more disciplined and pulling back stuff that we could have done but not necessarily benefited the figure was something that I found very beneficial to bounce off of Arlen before Dan Mitchell started kind of coming in, and then the three of us really started we checked our ego at the door initially from the start, but having that third person kind of help us problem solve and see it from a different perspective really helped me out personally.
So what about you, Adam?
Yeah, so we have 11 characters in our initial wave, and 9 of them are absolutely entire the brainchild of Phil Ramirez. He loves horror, he's obsessed. So maybe I gave you a little bit of notes on some of the characters initially, but barely any. It was mostly just him going nuts. The 2 Kickstarter stretch goals were me just telling Phil, hey, we need a demonic goat guy, and we need our take on Creature from the Black Lagoon. That was basically it. Then Phil just ran with it.
Okay.
So we actually do have the physical paint masters of both of those here that have only been shown as digital renders previously. So at the end, if anyone wants to come up and check these out in person, they're really, really creepy and cool looking. Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
They look great.
So you'll see them here first. They'll be posted on Instagram and social media, sometime next week.
Nice. So David, what do you think is the importance of community in the decisions to make an action figure, a toy, or an IP?
It's definitely important. Listening to the community, but also too, I think one of the things that you're hearing from the guys here is that they built a community with their team. And I just have to say this, to me, it's amazing to hear how much Marvel Legends inspired so much of everything that we're doing. And you're seeing people like Phil Ramirez that is still sculpting, and like Dave Cortez, and like all the guys that was there creating it, how not only their works of art inspired so much, but we worked together as a community. Like it was cool. Like the team was so dope to work with. One of the best teams I ever worked with. And I think that's one of the things I'm always trying to recreate. But having so many different individuals that could contribute their talents in so many ways for the better of the brand, just doing what they love. And then what came out of that? Not only are the guys that actually did it are still doing some really cool stuff, but it inspires so much. So it's like being part of this garage band that wound up doing the craziest albums ever, and then other bands wind up being inspired from that. But it really is from the community. Like we all love Marvel in our own way. And wanted to push that. And I think that we had that kind of camaraderie in the studio. I think we had that kind of camaraderie when we were together at Hasbro. And having that at the teams, and now being able to work with different independent creators, I love trying to have that same thing. Like let's not just read the comics, but talk about it, feel it. How did it make us feel? How did watching the movie make us feel? How did the going toy hunting, as a group, like that stuff makes a difference because you're not only playing with your passion and letting your passions kind of go through, but you're also funneling it through a business sense, and you want other people to pick up on it as well. So like the community part inside and out is so important, and also too just being able to not only have these new brands, but do new crossovers or show different ways of how we can actually make it exclusive or do something new. Like to me, that's all an extension of the community. So if you have that internally, and it's always, artists always want to work on their own, but nothing's done on their own. Nothing's done on their own. So once you have that tight-knit group that you found and you can really work with, and then sync that with the community outside, now you can have this push-pull thing, where that's how Marvel blew up. Marvel blew up from the fans page in the back, where people can contribute their things. The whole Superman hypno glasses, that came from a fan. That wasn't written from the writer, that came from a fan. And it just so happened that the editorial staff hooked on to that. So once you build that community sense inside and out, that can be the gateway to success.
Okay. So before I continue with the questions that I bring, I want to know if someone has a question for the guests that I have here. So if someone wants to make a question before I continue? No one really?
I know y'all got some questions. Now come on now. Come on, all now. Don't wait until later on to get on social media to start asking questions.
Yeah.
Man,
Who are you?
Well, my name's Jacob. So, my question is, has to do with like story. Because I know you have a comic and you have comic, right? And just how much does story affect the designs, the characters you have, or is that kind of like more of a secondary thing?
So we don't release any figures that haven't been shown in the comic. And one of the things that we enjoy about writing the comic is we'll pepper in little Easter eggs of characters that, you know, if you're just reading the story and not necessarily combing over the artwork, you'll miss it. And then the figure is announced a couple of months later, and you're like, oh, by the way, that was in issue 3, and most people missed it, you know. So I really enjoy that aspect of it.
I'll chime in too. Vonner knows this about me. I'm like obsessed with file cards, and it's something that, you know, I grew up with G.I. Joe, obviously, and then Vonner and I worked together on the Marvel Universe line, and he ran with file cards for that line. So when Phil was designing all of these characters for our Wave 1, he made backstories for them. He is not the greatest grammar, and he's got some dyslexia. I love him. So he put together the stories, and then I did some editing on them, and we have some great backstories for all 11 of the characters that we're going to be incorporating into the packaging and everything. So we like to think of them all as like kind of little horror vignettes, and they all do interconnect with one another, and we would love to see even more with that in the future. But yeah, for right now, we're kind of file card approach, and the story is, you know, we want people to be able to take these figures and either use them with other existing lines, and they can ignore those backstories, or embrace it, and you love the characters just as much as we do, and you know, you want to play with them the way we kind of start guiding you through those file cards.
Yeah, the story is important because number one, that's how you link in your items together where it makes sense. But sometimes, like for me, there's inspiration that comes out of the stories. Like writing the file cards, I would sit there and write like stories. Like I thought I was a Marvel writer, and just by writing those stories, I was like, man, we should do this figure and this figure, or just intersecting the product from what's written. And it's cool to be able to go back and forth like that. So you can set up other characters, you can set up other environments, and that can lay the groundwork for dioramas or, you know, vehicles. It's like Star Wars. Everything in Star Wars is a character. And of those characters, there's a story intertwined with them all. So it's endless when you start to play with it that way. Man, you can incorporate a good storyline with your toy line, and it can just go on forever and just keep blossoming. And that's the fun part.
Yeah, I agree with the story stuff. For me, I thought it was important to tell a good story first. I could have just had our team just make a giraffe learning bee or something, or tiger learning bee. It was cool, but there's you want some kind of backstory to it. So I think the cool thing was, like Jason said, you introduce a whole bunch of characters in your books, and we have tons of animals in our comics, and we had one. So like for San Diego Comic Con, we're doing a Puma figure, Thomas the Puma action figure, which is exclusive to the show. And come to booth 3245 tomorrow, you guys can
Right next to Four Horsemen.
Exactly, yeah. And the Four Horsemen are in our booth this year, so they haven't been back since 2017. They did the figure for us also. But Pounce was in the story. He's not a main character, but we introduced him in the story so that people would be familiar with it. Not just we just released the figure, say this is the Comic-Con exclusive, but who is this character? But if people who've read the comics know who the character is because he's been used in there. So I think story is important.
That's awesome. And I'm a mentor on card guy. I like putting my stuff. Yeah, I like playing with them, but I like the full fashion. I love so I like we can handle this. We can handle this a whole different way. But the thing I love, the reason why I love being a mentor on card guy, because remember when you're a kid, you read the cereal box like every day. You're reading the same thing, but you're discovering new stuff in the cereal box. That's what I love. Like, I like having the packaging and reading everything, like even the legal lines. Like, I love looking at that because it's just a comic book to me, and each one can lead into the next. And I'm thinking, like, what's coming in between that, or what's coming next? So I love like going back and reading all of our old copy, man. And plus, people put heart and soul into copyright. I don't know how many copywriters that we have out here. But we can't leave them behind. They put their heart and soul into that, and so it's cool to kind of revisit.
Collector-friendly packaging that they can keep, but open up and play with your toys, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I do. I got two.
I love the Masterverse line.
Well, I still don't. You know what I mean? I'm getting the other one.
One to rock, one to stop.
There
you go.
Okay,
We're not allowed to cuss, but there's a cuss word that I want to throw out there. It's like, yeah.
There's a 5-second delay.
How you doing? So my name is David, and to me, I think one of the most important aspects of an action figure to me is the articulation. And sometimes, obviously, you get a figure in hand and you mess with it, and it's like, oh, you're like, I wish I could have done this, or I wish that they might have cut this. I obviously don't know the process behind the scenes, so what is it kind of taking that original base sculpt and kind of integrating that articulation? What's kind of the process behind it, or the challenge that y'all face, and as to why we might get articulation here or not here?
I think that it depends on what the character is. If you're dealing with a robot, if you're playing video games, you'll see what's called clipping. So if it's got big, bulky shoulder pads, it'll just blend into the torso. You obviously can't do that type of stuff in a practical sense. So figuring out how to make hard surface stuff work in a convincing way is a challenge, and it's something that you should be mindful of while you're designing. I know we just add articulation in as we're sculpting. I say we, but Arlen or Dan. So yeah, one of the nice things about 3D is that you can do it a lot faster, but then I don't know exactly how the software works, but I find that it can be a little bit of a cheat where you're like, oh, that works, and then you print it out and then it doesn't quite work, which is why we do check models and prototypes to make sure that all that stuff actually functions in a real way before they start doing tooling molds and testing out the toy.
Yeah, I'm an articulation snob, like a total junkie for this. So when Phil was designing them, he knew that, he comes from Marvel Legends background. So it was like, we're gonna make these crazy articulated. And he incorporated that into the sculpt. And then, we're still finalizing our prototypes. So, I took photos of the prototypes during the Kickstarter campaign in absolutely outlandish poses, but we even noticed that it's like, the neck, we could get a little bit more range. So we revisited and we tweaked that in our digital sculpt files. And what Jason's saying, it's through the whole process. It's like once it gets to the factory too, it's checking everything and pouring that care into it over time. What we have as indie toy makers is the ability to not be stuck in a set schedule. So we can be a little bit more nitpicky. We can push things out and maybe be a month or two late, possibly more depending, but we could do that and really care because we're not a big company like Hasbro or Mattel that needs to hit certain dates, so.
Or not have someone tell you can't afford that before you can try. It's a lot of obstacles that are faced in major toy companies, when it comes to each part being made, and then you have to make deals and side deals with your engineers and your marketing people, and everyone's trying to tell you to design different. It's a Game of Thrones. It's a Game of Thrones that you do not have to go through when you're an independent. It's a little bit of that. I ain't gonna talk about dark stuff, the toys, but it's a dark world. Everybody know each other. I'll just say that. but you got to make a lot of deals when you're dealing with a lot of different individuals and their agendas. Here, everyone is basically your team. When you pick your team, everyone's on the same agenda. So you really don't have to go through that. You just got to make sure it's functionally right, and that's the cool part, is trying to up the level of the functionality of the articulation. Like, where else can we go? What else can we do? And it can drive you mad, but it's a fun, curious kind of.
A challenge that I faced with the articulation. So shout out to Kevin over there. Kevin did the sculpt on my figure, and he did an amazing job, because I had like a blank drawing of Odious that didn't have any articulation. So I was like, I want everything, I want this, and I laid it all out. I want this joint here, this joint here, this joint here. And Kevin sculpted it exactly like that. So in my mind, I was like, cool, it's gonna be exactly what I want. So then once we got to the factory, and the factory started doing with it, there's kind of a difference between what you think, like what you want and what you think can happen and what can actually happen. So like, for example, like a lot of people know about this challenge that I had. I had like a shoulder joint that I wanted like a certain way. And I had it sculpted that way that I wanted, but then it turned out that you can't do a shoulder joint with the type of material that we were using. Like, that's not something I knew about. And so like we got into it, and I would like, bug the shit out of Dave, like, Dave, this is what I want, a butterfly joint. Like, I know they could do it in this material. And he's like, well, show me an example. I dug through all the companies, all the figures, everybody trying to find an example of a shoulder joint with this type of material, and it didn't exist. So then once I got to that point, I was like, all right, well, we had to adjust fire and kind of change the whole sculpt. And, the factory changed the scope, and I think they did a pretty good job trying to compromise what they had to make it the way that it had to be done to be produced and the way that I want it, and we kind of found a good middle ground. So that was
gotta keep pushing. You gotta keep pushing.
Yeah. For example, in my experience was all you guys and almost everyone makes their action figures in China. We made our first. We were the first ones who made action figures in Colombia. So we made a lot of mistakes that we learned. So, for example, I don't have a team like all of you. I was the one who made the characters, who sculpted them and everything. For financial issues, we removed the butterfly joint, but they put it on the, still sculpted on the action figure. So people believe that we have the butterfly joint, but it's not there. So it was like, the community said like, why do you have that? Yeah, behind the scenes was a financial decision, was a bad decision, but it still is like something that you start learning, making that kind of mistakes, But it's a good learning, because right now I'm here making a panel with an awesome guest. And if I didn't make that kind of bad decision, maybe I would never be here, Yeah. So it's a learning process, all of this. So, yeah.
I think just to answer your question real quick, I think the articulation depends on the characters, like we said. For us, our first wave was just the primary characters, which are all the felines, tigers, snow leopards, jaguars, which they have to be able to do martial arts stuff. So, we put like 30 points of articulation, and we could probably put even more. But for instance, like later on, we're going to do a giraffe. Well, if you think the giraffe neck, we don't want just a boring neck that just turns and goes up, down. We want it to be flexible in turns, so that's going to add more articulation, and we have to find a way to put it so that the neck can kind of turn and stuff. So it depends on what we want the character to do. For us, we need our characters to be incredibly flexible. They have to pull off all these jiu-jitsu techniques and martial arts techniques.
It's funny because as you mentioned it, I'm like designing it in my head.
Yeah.
There you are. Yeah, I already know.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
So Pat, I have 2 words for you. Bendy figures.
Bendy figures.
But so my question is, it has to do with, every one of you guys have started from the ground up with this, and I know that some of you have put in some of your own money, your own pocket, for getting started, but what do you do when you're bootstrapping it, you have zero funds. Like, how do you work that into this character that you're trying to create and bring to market? Besides social media and Kickstarter.
My first Kickstarter, I saved up. I had like an allotment from each paycheck to kind of like swirl away and pay the sculptor over the course of a year. And that first Kickstarter wasn't successful, so I had to go back to the drawing board and basically eat beans and rice again for another year. You know, it was like 2 years of just grinding it out. But I found out how little it takes to make me happy, and I had a vision and everything. So I guess just kind of see where your priorities lie as far as like finances, see what you can do, and be realistic about it.
Have any of you guys had to seek like venture capitalists or anything like that?
Yeah, I get venture capitalist. I think that if you have a business plan, people are going to trust you. But you have to have the business plan. Because something that I've been seeing, not here in the US, but a lot of people from other countries reach me to ask me how outside the US you can do this, you know? Everyone has good ideas, but they don't have a good business plan. And the business plan is really important because nobody's going to invest you because people think that if you have a good idea, people are going to just put money, and that's it. People don't do charity; they want their money back, so they just invest in good business plan, not good ideas. You know, because I'm really sure that everyone has amazing ideas, but business plan is completely different than I have a good idea or you know. So I think that the business plan is really important in these kind of projects. That you need a lot of passion, but you need a business plan to make this happen.
Well, you know, honestly, man, and all that's true. There's multiple ways of how to do it, but the main thing is that you gotta pay yourself that sweat equity. Like, you gotta do it. You just have to do it. And you gotta stick with it because it is not easy. It's various amounts of challenges, and the money part is the big thing. But that's when you have to be your most creative and figure out what resources you can utilize around you. How can you get from point A to point C when it's really difficult to get to B? You know, how are you going to keep on going? Sometimes you got to think outside the box, which is going to force you to pursue your challenge and your passion in ways where if you're facing that financial obstacle or that creative obstacle, you just have to find a way to get past it. You just got to grit your teeth and bear it and figure out a way. And usually, like, that's why I love the community so much, because you can lean on the community in various ways is to figure out where it is you want to go. And like, there's a vast amount of us that either have the resources or passion about, you know, discovering new resources, whatever. Like, so the thing is really reaching out, utilizing all your resources you can, and create something if you need to. But you got to do it.
I think like you're saying it right there, and across the board, you see it where Kickstarter and funds, it's kind of a necessary evil because it is a lot of money to make action figures. But having part of your team like know this stuff, you know, Jason, you've got Harlan, Dan, and then Pat, you have 4 Horsemen, right? And then Wade, you have Kevin over here, I have Phil, and it's like,
that's your sweat equity.
Yeah, we have digital sculpting skills. We have, you know, I'm sure some of us have 3D printers and everything. So it's like being able to do a lot of that initial creative work and not, you know, having like that stuff costs money. I mean, that's my day job, is literally working at Gentle Giant Studios doing prototyping work for Hasbro and Mattel. And trust me, it costs a good amount of money to do it. So getting to do that stuff initially, like all that creative work, so that way you can convince the public to kind of help you fund making these things is pretty important.
Well, also, one thing too I wanted to mention when it comes to that, yeah, there's Kickstarter, and that money is what it's really going to take. But before Kickstarter, there's also a lot of costs too that, you know, people aren't throwing money at you for. So for me, a big thing that helped me was getting help from skillful people in the community. Like I am and was such a big part of the action figure community for different reasons. And I became cool with a lot of people that helped me out with different things. Like, for instance, my buddy Gonzo over there helped me with some artwork that ended up in the box. Nico there has helped me out with painting. Kevin gave me like probably a stupid price to sculpt it, and it's all like, it's all that stuff. Like those little acts of charity are definitely what made ODS happen before the Kickstarter. So another way that the community helped me.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, before we are gonna make a few announcements, but I wanna you guys give one advice, really quickly, please. one advice. If you give one advice to people who wants to start their own IP, their own line, fulfill their dreams to have, because everyone has the dream to, I want to make my own toy line. What will be the advice that you can give to people who wants to start in this business?
For me, the advice that I would give would be to cultivate a group of people and like an audience that trusts you and what you're doing, and that are excited about what you're doing, and that genuinely want to see it happen. Like, build yourself your community to help push it, because again, it takes a village, right? That's the whole thing. So build a community that's going to help push it, and just stay consistent.
Don't do it.
Whoa.
No, I'm kidding. No, you gotta find something that you're really passionate about, because you're gonna spend long. I'm sure everybody's here. You're up till midnight or whatever. You're spending long hours doing this stuff. So you have to really, really love what you're doing. Something that you're really passionate about. And like Wade said, you gotta surround yourself with good people. People who buy into what you're doing, believe in what you're doing, and are talented. Obviously, you have to find talented people behind you. And just surround yourself with good people.
Yeah, and to build on that, I think, you have to understand that a production run or making a movie or a comic book, it's going to be a marathon. So what I personally do is give myself little milestones. And 1 week it's going to be something awesome where you're working on paint masters, and then another week it might be something that's annoying with dealing with why is my advertising not going through this, didn't get approved. And then next week you're doing prototyping, but breaking it up into digestible baby steps, I think, is a way to kind of get you through it and realize that the beginning of production is like a funnel, and then as you get closer and closer to the end of your production, more and more things are going to get checked off, and just stick with it and try to see it through fruition.
Yeah, I think building right off of what you said, I think it's don't give up, because there's going to be setbacks no matter what part of the process you're in, like whether that's like getting funded, or even before that, you're going to have difficulties. Just stick with it, because if it is something, just like what God said, if you're passionate about it, stick with it and make it happen. Like give it your all.
Yeah. With the passion and all that, what you really gotta check is to make sure that you do not drive yourself crazy, because you will put a lot of energy into this, and sometimes you can be very ferocious, but some people can be ferocious with that. Some people may not understand, who is outside or inside of your circle may not understand that. So, relationships can be affected, friendships can be affected, money relationships, like a lot of things can be affected when you get into this game. It's a multi-head beast. So the main thing you gotta do is, when you're having this creativity and the passion and the vision and everything, you gotta make sure that you don't drive yourself to the point where you're breaking up. So for me, what I like to do is kind of step back from a lot of the stuff and like find interest in training or running or strengthening my body or my mind, so when I come to the problem, I can find a solution, because that's what you got to do. Making toys is all about finding solutions every day. The owner of Jazzwares told me a long time ago when I worked there, he was like, man, we're firefighters, we're not toy makers. Every day you got to put out a fire. And sometimes it's very difficult for the human body or the human mind to go through that exercise all the time. particularly when your passion is involved in it. So, you know, I've had imposter syndrome. I've seen a lot of friends in the industry go through ups and downs because they put so much, they don't turn it off. Like those hours and everything, like I have so many time zones, I don't even go by time, I go by time zones. Like, I don't know what, I'm just in the Netherlands for a few hours, I'm in Dubai a few hours, I'm in China a few hours, I'm everywhere. So what I do is really take the important measures to be able to unplug and recharge. So when I come to these solutions and issues that you will run into when you get into this game, you'll have a clear mind and level mind to be able to solve it. You know, whether it's reaching out to an individual that you are hesitant about doing or just approaching a problem, you'll be able to find it within yourself to approach it. Like now that I'm at this stage of the game and been in it, like take care of your mental so you can always have the wherewithal to make the right decision to solve the problem. Because it's going to be, you'll never know, like day by day. No one thought that this tariff situation was going to happen. Now everybody's a tariff expert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody knew. Nobody knew about COVID.
Crazy.
Nobody knew about Y2K. That was the thing. Like there's so many things. I've been through wars, 9/11, pandemics, epidemics, you name it, we've been through it. And there's always going to be something else or a personal thing that's going to come into play. You got to make sure that you're fortified to do this, to have your passion actually give birth. And it's a lot. It's a lot. So.
Okay, we have a few minutes to make a few announcements. That I'm going to start with Wade. That he has an amazing announcement of his coming figures.
So that's the Ronin Odious. That's going to be part of the next Kickstarter. It's going to feature the Ronin Odious, Cowboy Odious, Army Odious, and the Inuit Odious. The Inuit and the Soldier have already been shown. This Ronin hasn't been shown. I haven't shown any pictures, but hopefully you guys can see it up there. I'm super excited about it. I also have it right here if you guys want to check it out outside, get some pictures and poses and
That thing's dope, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
I know that Jason has to show us a few of their upcoming things.
Okay, so this was from our last Kickstarter. If you look at the figure in the middle, that body is called the Brawler Buck. We are going to have 5 figures using that buck that should be delivered in November. So our goal right now is to get all of the Kickstarter backers, those figures, and then if all of that ships to the Kickstarter backers, then we'll have some cases of those Brawler bodies at Legion's Con.
Patrick, if you want to invite everyone to go to visit your booth and everything.
Yeah, I didn't know we were making announcements, but we have all of our stuff on display at our booth 3245, right next to the Horseman. We have we are sold out of a few of them, but we do have our first wave of figures there, including a few left of our exclusive, and then we are working on the second wave. We have a bigger body sculpted for some of the bigger animals. We've had a lot of people asking for a shark, a rhino, an elephant, a hippo. So we are working on it. We actually have the body sculpted ready. We're just working on the heads, the hands, and the feet for those.
What about you, Adam? You want to invite people or?
Yeah, so our Kickstarter is done, but we're currently working on our backer kit, and we'll be launching the pre-order store. Our stuff is also going to be available on Big Bad Toy Store and potentially some other e-tailers. And these two that you see here were originally going to be Kickstarter stretch goals, but we've gone ahead and we're just going to open up pre-orders for both. And they're the ones that I have the physical paint masters of here. So if you want to come check them out in person, they look even better than digital renders. Because digital render, no digital renders. Come on, like let's get physical paint masters, guys. Like I know everyone up here loves that idea as well. Like, you know, let's make these toys a physical thing. It's part of the process.
The last announcement is that David Bonner is gonna.
We got a big announcement with our Bandito 112 scale action vehicle is going into production. We're actually in production now. Blue Realm, we're about to go into production with that. We'll be working together on some fist stuff to kind of bring some new aesthetics and things to Fist, and that's going to be fun playing in that sandbox. So there's going to be a lot of cool, and also to make sure you guys come to LA Comic Con because we're going to have a dope presentations, some really good surprises, unveiling some new product there that's going to continue on with the diverse group that we're all working with and building. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of stuff in store.
Okay, and thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for joining us. And if you want to came to see the audio speaker on everything, thanks for being here with us. And thanks for the guests for joining me in this particular experience. Okay, I'm learning more English every time that I can.
All right.